Adele and the lovely Sherry is back with us, everybody. Our astrologer psychic from Ask the Answer that seems to know so much about what's going on in the world that's impacting us before we even know ourselves. Let's welcome her back. Sherry, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adele. Thank you so much for having me back. I love co-creating with you here at Ask the Answer. And it's been a crazy time since our last live podcast.
Yeah.
We couldn't get on with the Mercury retrograde and all those other planets. But we've moved past that. It is a fresh energy coming in with this Scorpio full moon coming up this Sunday into Monday. And Scorpio is a water sign, as you know, and it's also a fixed sign. So water and cups in the tarot, it represents a lot of emotions. Mm-hmm. And I pulled a card in our spread for us here, actually, for the collective and individuals. And we got the Five of Pentacles energy in the middle of the spread. So that has to do with isolation and worrying about finances, the way forward with everything happening in the world today, people having to adapt to the new changes globally and on a personal level. Mm-hmm. And I go a little bit deep into the with each element, which I've just sent those videos into Ask the Answer with the moon scopes, the monthly moon scopes. So hopefully the listeners can get to listen to that and book a personal session, because everybody will resonate with some things and some things they won't in those moon scopes. But anyway, back to the Five of Pentacles. This is also bringing up lack consciousness, poverty consciousness. Like, I need to stay here. I need to do this. I don't have what it takes to move forward. It's too unknown. It's too scary. I don't have a strategy. I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't feel abundant to move forward. So that these things are going to be illuminated with this Scorpio full moon coming up. Mm-hmm. Adele, are you starting to feel it too?
Well, I'm smiling away because I've been dying to speak to you since our last podcast, because so much has happened. The last time we spoke to you, we were talking about the Mercury retrograde. We were talking about that I was feeling a little bit unsettled with doing too many things, spinning too many plates, something needed to give. I then obviously handed my notice in, which I think I said on the last podcast, from that one job, so I could go fully engaged with obviously my fitness industry that I obviously is my background and what I love. That feels great. I feel, it was the right decision. I feel a weight lifted off my shoulders and I can really focus on that. I mentioned, obviously, that my husband was also feeling unfulfilled and motivated in the role that he's been in. And he applied for another job while still where he was. That still hasn't come into fruition. He's down to the last 3 people for that one. I can't remember if I said that already with you. But what has happened, whilst he's been manifesting that new job, he only got made redundant last week. And he said that as much as it's scary and unsettling, he wouldn't have left probably if he hadn't been made redundant. And it was the shift that maybe that he needs now to grow and move forward. He's fine up until December. He gets obviously his garden leave, he gets holiday. He's never had this amount of time off, so he's excited to be able to do the gardening and spend the summer with the children. He's looking at all the positives, but also a little bit of uncertainty, the fact that he needs to make sure he has a job by the end of the year, because we've got school fees to pay for and obviously provide for the family. So yeah, that's what's happening in our world.
Wow. I feel that he's in alignment. He's, the words, as you were sharing the story, the words "no risk, no magic" came to me as you were sharing your story there with your husband and yourself. And this moon, the Scorpio full moon, this lunation is going to remind us and show us all of these changes that we know for a while now that we've had to make. And it's not new. This is something that's been going on at least a year or even more. Yes. Mm-hmm. So the truth of what you desire on a deeper knowing, these things are going to be illuminated. And it's going to make us look at money management, time management, our daydream space, our dream space. How are we managing our time? Because in the future, as we evolve and as these full moons and new moons, as we work with these energies, which I'm good at teaching people how to utilize the energies, right, to manifest, which is 9 of Pentacles is financial freedom. Nine of Pentacles is the energy and the archetype that we can embody for financial integrity, right? And that's one of the hardest lessons that I've been having to personally work through on my own because of financial illiteracy growing up. They do not teach these things in school. And I was not handed a silver spoon. And I've worked all my life since the age of 12. Maybe, no, actually, fourth grade, I started tutoring. Fourth grade was my first paycheck. I don't even know how old I was, 10 or 11. But,
Wow.
I've been working ever since. And I've always learned how to independently make money, but I never knew how to keep it. Right. Until, you as you evolve, these full moons are going to make us, especially the Scorpio one coming up, it's going to make us look at our dreams with the Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups energy, Adele, and our listeners, this is a great card, but then at the same time, it cannot be so great because it could be a form of escapism, right? You could daydream, but those dreams are just castles in the sky unless you're grounding them one at a time. There has to be a little bit of groundedness so that you could step back and say, okay, if I want to become a health and wellness coach, you don't have to be perfect. You can start right now, right? Start by maybe blogging what you do that behind the scenes that people can actually use, right? Just creating those baby steps and sharing your perspectives, right? And then be consistent about it. Because this is for later, but around May 24th, astrologically, I've learned that we have Saturn entering in the sign of Aries. And Saturn is the planet of discipline. And we will be disciplined to get us to where we want to go. And the universe, just like the parents, have unconditional love for us. So we may or may not like the way it feels, thinks, sounds, and looks. Adele, as a parent, as much as you want to spoil the children, you still want to empower them to be self-sovereign and independent at the same time, right? Because you're not always going to be there, and you want them to have those basic foundations, right? Do you feel like you or anyone in your family has this fixed energy that, like, or if you want to share what helped you make that move from that fixed energy and started recognizing more of your worth and your empowerment to move from that other job?
Yeah, from the other job, I was just feeling from a job that I once loved. I did love it, and I did love the people I worked with, but I was just coming away feeling really drained from it, and I was thinking, what am I getting back from that? And then when I had another job to compare it to, I was like, I'm coming back from that job full of life, full of energy, feeling great, even though it's hard fitness classes I'm teaching, to then doing another role which I felt was draining my energy, and I wasn't getting the same back anymore. And I felt it served its purpose, but I can do the same thing from home for less hours and more money and get that enjoyment rather than doing too much. So that was my shift. I thought, well, actually, I don't want to work weekends anymore. I want to spend time with my family, and I can do it. I've been sort of obviously building up my own business, and then suddenly I was thinking, I'm turning people away to do this other work for less money and longer hours. What am I doing? And it was a bit of a wake-up call that I've got people coming to me. It's okay. I can take that leap of faith now. I've got another job. I've got my own work. So I don't actually need that one that's maybe draining that energy now.
Great. So thank you for sharing that. That's very special, because you actually, by example, are showing your children and your family and your loved ones and your peers how to liberate yourself from an old imprisoning mindset that you have to stay in one thing. And this is how the new earth is forming. The new earth is formed by a few passion projects. We have been so programmed into having a job and financial security that it actually traps people. And I've been there, you've been there, that mindset of, oh my God, what about, they'll take my health benefits, they'll take all this away. But, if you really tune in and go within, tune into your higher self, your divine God, source, universe, whoever that is for you, or whatever that is for you as an individual, you will realize you've always had the answers, and when we tune into the inner child, you start to bring the cognitive dissonance, the polarity, oh, but if I do this, how will it look? It doesn't look it, I don't know how that would look. But that is the most fertile ground to work from, right, Adele? That in between phase, in between two worlds, because
Yeah.
you thrive. You start to thrive instead of worrying and
Yeah.
hustling. Hustling is also a programming, because you're on survival mode, and that just sets off your central nervous system, and it's really not a comfortable place to manifest from. Anxiety, fear, doubt, insecurities. You want to manifest naturally and take it one step at a time. And never do I advise any of my clients to say, leave your job today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No, unless you have that comfort, another thing going.
Yes.
So I do advise the clients who are conscious and aware that there will be miracle codes that come in as you are pursuing your joy.
Mm-hmm.
And at 11:11 on the clock, as I said that,
Yeah.
and you can't make this up. So those miracle codes are gonna bring in the changes that will set you free, as you witnessed. You started opening your heart, your mind, and your soul to creative solutions rather than a logical 3D dense logical solution. You just, it's not a black or white thing. It's a risk. No risk, no magic, right?
Yeah.
So this is more like, would you say it was more of an energetic alignment that you felt? It's subtle the way the universe speaks once you understand the language. Can you describe that energetic alignment that felt right or wrong for you?
Yeah, I think actually just being able to talk to you about it, I think, I hadn't been sort of talking to many psychics for quite a few years, and then suddenly coming back and hosting a spiritual show and then being more aware of what's going on made me more in tune to actually, I'm not being silly, or I'm not imagining it. And, there was a few conversations that I had with you when, I said I did something in the class, and then you mentioned it during the podcast. And it was just like, oh, there is something going on. I am feeling it, and you are reflecting what I was experiencing and feeling, and it just energetically just felt the right thing to do. And I don't know, there was just that sort of, I now feel ready. It's almost like a relationship, when it's done and it feels like it's done.
Yes.
That's it. You're emotionally cut off, and then that's it. You there's no turning back. I thought, right, I'm done now. I've switched off from that role. I'm ready for the new one.
Yes, exactly. So that's what this Scorpio full moon energy is doing for a lot of us. It's making us turn into our higher self, into something bigger and outside of ourselves. Well, it's actually inside, but it's gonna, once we connect to that inner power, that inner GPS compass, inner compass, I call it. It's gonna allow us to really look at, okay, and this fertile ground, I can start to create, I can start to discipline myself, and I can commit an hour a week. Then it becomes 2 hours, then it becomes 3, and you find yourself doing it every day. And that's what's been happening with me with my social media presence. It just becomes a part of your day, because it's internal. I can't describe it. You start to like something aligns you with that higher power, and there's no separating from it anymore. I'm almost in a phase in my life. Well, I am not almost. I am in a phase where the universe wants me to be seen, heard for who I authentically am now, and there is no hiding anymore. There is no hiding. This is the illusions lifting with the 7 of Cups. This is me coming up, and for the collective, our energies, those that are ready to take the next steps, like yourself and your husband, Adele, as the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords, she's somebody who has clear communication that will allow her to express what's best for her. So having boundaries, like, okay, I may not be able to go to that party or that family event at this time because I have commitments here, because I have a new thrive that I'm working on, a new discipline. So it's having clear-minded, clear boundaries with people, and even with yourself, not allowing yourself to overindulge, not allowing yourself, like taming the beast and having that inner power and strength. Scorpio, I'm an Aries double Scorpio, so I get a little bit more emotionally intense it's amplified, right? Double Scorpio is intense. I kind of get silent during these times, and I reflect even more, but not to my detriment either. Because I've learned how to work with moon energy. Is there anything
that's interesting,
coming up?
because we're saying about overindulging, and I literally had the conversation with one of my colleagues yesterday saying, these last few weeks, I don't feel I've been on it with my new role as a fitness instructor, because I had to organise a hen do, I had to be a bridesmaid, I had to organise things for the wedding, I then had to host a bodybuilding show. So the last few weeks, I just feel like I don't want to take things for granted and get complacent in my role that I'm in. But I have felt the last few weeks that I haven't been able to, and only because I've only just finished at the other job, I haven't been able to give it 100%, and I haven't been able to be on it as much as I should be. And I was aware of it. And I said, I need to rein it in now. All those events are done. I need to focus, not the summer's out. Before you know it, you're having barbecues and drinking, and then you feel rubbish the next day because you've eaten too much and you drank too much. So just keep that in check, that actually I've got a job to do. Yes, of course, there's a balance, but there was a good few weeks where I think there was quite a few social events going on that made me feel that I wasn't 100% on my new job where I should be. But now that's all done with, I feel right. That other job's gone now. I've got free time. I can now prep my work. I don't need to be overeating and over drinking over the weekend, so then I feel rubbish the next week. So yeah, just make sure I'm in check and don't ruin this opportunity that I've got.
Right. So these are just soul lessons that we are all going through, because we're all on different parts of the spiritual and emotional evolution, right? And I believe in moderation, and I had to learn as a double Scorpio fixed sign. I had to learn through extremities. I was always all or nothing all my life, but for the first time in maturing in my spiritual growth and in my emotional growth, I learned that, okay, I can have a glass of red wine with my steak, or a white wine with my fish, but I don't really enjoy sitting at a bar anymore. I don't resonate with that in that way anymore. And I don't condemn that or judge that in others. But it just, I have that's a whole nother conversation with alcohol, and there's spirit in there that can mix with your spirit, right? So because I know, like you, I want to show up in service in alignment, feeling good.
Be the best I can be. I want people to be talking about me and buzzing about my classes. They
can feel the energy. We have to practice mindfulness, and it affects every area of your life. It affects, when you, even if it's sugar that you're eating, it can leave me with a sugar high, and I don't want to feel bad the next day. I want to give my best delivery when I channel for people, when I do readings and healing sessions with people. But that silence is really, really important. Adele, especially with this incoming lunation in the Scorpio full moon, because in that silence, you can start to feel things deeper. Scorpio allows us to do that, to tune into that quietness, because how they say there's power in silence. People, like, for example, I have my housemate has shared some personal things with me regarding her family, and she just wanted to keep over texting and over emailing. I said, stop. Just pause, allow them to catch up, allow the universe to catch up to what it is that you're desiring to have a better relationship with your son, or whatever the situation is. Allow that moment of silence, right? Because that power, there's a power that gets born within that silence. Do you know what I mean? Adele, you're not coming out of desperation or clinginess or anger or frustration. You're just trusting that they are on their journey, and not project the things that you want into whatever situation you're going through. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. With the full moon in Scorpio, how does that impact people who are Scorpios? Does it impact them more, or is it the same across the board with everyone?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it's not the same across the board, because, let's say for Scorpios, there are different frequencies. There are, very addictive Scorpios, just like any other zodiac. They could be, some people can handle it more through numbing, drinking, working, overworking, whatever the person's addictions are, they could be stuck in that, and because they may not have any mindful practices, grounding practices, spiritual knowledge. So there's lower frequencies, and there's, you go, it's infinite. You will evolve eventually, because I was on that level where I would turn to shopping, I would turn to overeating, emotional eating, I would turn to other means that I knew they weren't healthy, but that's all I knew back then in that stage of my development. So it's going to impact us all differently. Like for me, yes, it does. I can feel collective energies. I can tell, my vessel is pretty clear that I can pick up what like my mom is feeling, or my loved ones are feeling, that I'm deeply connected to, because there is no separation in the upper realms, as you know, right? So you have to learn to kind of energetically protect also your gifts, because you're like a sponge. Scorpios are sponges, so wherever Scorpio is in your chart, you're going to feel things. You know what I mean? You're going to feel things deeper. I love being a double Scorpio in that sense, because I have emotional openness in ways that people can't. It's an emotional intelligence, the same way we're drawn to intellect. I may not have that intellect as a gift, but my intelligence is more emotional. I can feel things deeply, and I can express it in a healthy way now where I am, and I'm continuing to evolve. It's an infinite process. No one will ever know it all. Like if we did, then that's ego.
Yeah,
that's not God. So for me, I think it's just continuing to see what it is that I need to continue to work on, so that I could change my circumstances, so I don't feel stuck. It's all about liberation, right? And freeing myself from thinking I have to work hard to make money, because that was an ingrained belief on me. And now I work smart and use my innate gifts, and that's what a lot of my calls on Ask the Answers have been. I've been working closely with certain clients, and they love updating me with their progression in their life. I love that I'm their confidant, and they share every step of the way. Some of these clients, I love that, because they don't, like you're like, I don't really talk to anyone about this. You're the one who kind of understands. I want to share the good news with you, and as well as the not so good news, because there's no judgment. Because we all experience similar things in different cycles. That's what life is it's teaching me that there's cycles, and the lessons will repeat in the cycles until we learn them. So and fixed signs have it bad. Fixed signs don't find it easy. Scorpios don't find change easy until they are ready to personally do it themselves. Do you have Scorpio in your chart, Adele?
Yeah, moon is Scorpio.
Oh, we share that thread. That's
my husband
right.
Is Scorpio. Yeah, his sun sign Scorpio.
Your husband?
Yeah, he's Scorpio.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But yeah, it's funny that he was making that decision, and then that decision got made, obviously, with the redundancy. So yeah, he was thinking about it, and then obviously it happened. So he was obviously ready for it, and then that came. So yeah, that all fits in really nicely. It was interesting actually, because it might be similar to some of the calls that you get where his boss was like, oh, how's your wife feeling about it all? Is she okay? Because my wife is really stressing out, and, we're having a really difficult time about it all, and all the work situations. And then he's had obviously other ladies calling him saying, oh, I can't believe, that this has happened. I feel like it's all a bit of a dream. And then Dave was like, yeah, Adele's actually really cool about it. She's just like, and yeah, I think probably in the past, maybe I would have maybe been a bit worried about things, but I think I really trust things now. I'm like, no, change is good. Like, change can give us like growth. It can open new doors. Like, we're always going to be okay. If we need to downsize, we downsize. If we need to, change something different than we do, we'll make it work. And I said to him, I said, you're amazing. You've grafted and worked ever since we've met each other, when he was literally making about £600 a month. And he said, give me 4 or 5 years and I'll be able to provide for the family. And I said, oh, bless you. Like, that's really kind. And literally in about 4 years later, he said, I told you I'd be able to make it and support the family. And he did. And he's grafted and he's moved up the ladder to where he is now. And I said, you're fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. You've got all these qualifications. You're amazing what you do. You're a grafter. He can walk straight into a normal job if he needs to, and he would. But yes, he wants to aim higher and grow as a person, and he's aiming for that. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't need to do anything in the meantime. He's quite open to doing that to get to where he needs to get to. And I went, you're brilliant. You're fine. And I think he appreciated that, the fact he told people he works with that, yeah, my wife's fine with it all, you know. So yeah, I got his back.
Love that. I love that he's able to alchemize his own power. Like he just knew. And when you say, I love how he said dream. It was like a dream. And that's exactly how the internal process, spiritual journey works. For me personally, is I experience it as you're starting to remember the dream, because there's no difference between dream state and wake state. This is still a dream that you have manifested. You and I have manifested a podcast into reality, right? Mm-hmm. So these dreams are not our own. They're actually given to us by the divine, by the universe, by God's source. And they are meant to go through us, right, until they become a reality. So a lot of people don't even try because they don't feel that they are worthy of it. And that is not really always their fault, because that has to do with programming. Once again, limiting belief systems that grandma and mom, and, I had been couple of years I've been working through conversations with my mom, her rigidity of me having to get a 9-to-5 and go back to teaching. I said, no, mom. And so she finally gave up. I said, Mom, no one works 9-to-5 anymore these days. If they do, God bless them, I said, because I enjoy my freedom. I enjoy my time that I get to spend with you, and managing my resources wisely so I can offer my support on many levels, which I do, not just, globally around the world through this platform and other platforms. I get to be there in the same room with my mom and support her through whatever she needs me through the day. Where if I was in my teaching career, I have to wait till after 4:00 to get home, then go see her. But that would be so chaotic for me, because I did that. I was always juggling things. But now, you come to a place of evolution within your own being. At some point, people are that's why we have social media. People look at these things, it's like, oh, how is she doing that? You're just living your life, Adele, as I love how your post, with the working out, and then the animals and the family, like you can have it all.
Yeah.
You can, but it takes a little bit of expressing that highest nature through what you love, through self-expression, and what people think is sometimes easy is not. Like, a lot of influencers are a little bit, I'm skeptical of, because they don't show the hard work and the blood and the tears and the sweat that comes behind it, right? It's not perfect. It's not. It takes time, like, to build something. And I authentically love the way the divine has shown me how to build, even when my paycheck doesn't reflect it. But I feel the most abundant. I feel the most recognized. That I can be that frequency. When people say you're a healer, you're a psychic. No, I'm just a frequency to help you remember who you are. And the way to tune into that frequency is to do the inner work on ourselves as an individual. And then individually, when we raise our frequency, what happens collectively? We change the systems. We change the wavelength, right? We don't have to subscribe to that. The more of us stop being lazy and support independence, and depending on Amazon's free delivery, like, yeah, I'm guilty of that. But the more we stop subscribing to certain things that have made us lazy and complacent, the more we can evolve as a species on this planet.
Yeah, I get that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's we can trust the unknown at this time. Again, with this Scorpio full moon coming in, go within, find some practices, even if it's walking in nature with your pets, with your children. Just really letting your heart lead for a moment, right? Like get into that intuition, that dreamy imagination, and that way it can help you balance the over emotionalism that you could be feeling at this time for the collective. And it's when you're too over emotional, it can block your intuition and the inner guidance. You can, some people, I used to be like that. That's why I'm speaking and able to help people with this, is because I learned, like, there were moments I couldn't even, and it's okay to cry. Tears have a purification, internal structure in them. There's healing in tears. And I remember growing up, I cried so much, even in my adult years later, as I was healing, going through my dark night of the soul. I could feel my tears go down my mouth, and like I taste the salt in it. It was there's something purifying while I'm crying. I'm like, that is so cleansing at the same time, to drink my own tears, right? Like there's something magical about that, even though I was in a dark phase at that time, and releasing. But it is healthy to cry.
Definitely, absolutely. So is now a time with the full moon in Pisces to take action, or is
Scorpio.
Scorpio. Sorry, the full moon is Scorpio. Is it a time for action, or is it a time to be just tapping into your intuition and your emotions, and having that discipline?
Yes, I feel a little combination of both, but internal. More Scorpio is internal. It's emotions, it's cups energy. It's going within and meditating a little bit, and allowing the visions to come through, and sitting with the pain. If some of us are going through heartbreak, some of us are going through issues with money and how to move. We don't know how to move forward. Like there's it's a time to reflect and go within. I feel, not forever, but just take those moments to contemplate and reflect on maybe how, like I said, how can I express myself in this world to aid humanity? Because it's when you're helping humanity that the abundance will unlock within you. Everything we have is already inside. That's why I think using this Scorpio moon is going to help you to come to that inner truth, and it's going to help you to align with what your true skills are, because we all have different skill sets. We all have different roles on this planet, and the more we tune into that inner truth, we can start to produce and activate those things.
Okay.
Like you are on your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, what's to come after that? Was that for another podcast?
Yes. Well, we have, like I said, that's for another podcast. We have the Saturn entering in Aries May 24th, and that's going to require discipline. And just because we have let's say you and I, we have our gigs going on, we're starting to get the flow, right? Like once a month we meet up here. But we have to be open to things going bonkers sometimes. We have to be open to things not working out. And how do you get through that, right? And the more, and these are the lessons that the energies of Saturn and that can bring with discipline to help us transition into whatever areas in our lives where, like I said, for some of us it could be moving on from an old relationship that you just don't feel anymore, a job you don't feel anymore, a community you don't feel, the city you live in. Like those nudges are internal and subtle, but they're there for a reason. And the more you tune into that through spiritual grounding practices, I believe that it can help you navigate better, through the transitions and more smoothly. And you can start to identify things that can help you upgrade and update your resume, or, your skill sets, and explore new opportunities.
It's so funny because, again, I just, whenever I have that little monthly check-in with you, and everything sort of just ching, 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 everything just making sense of things around me in my life, and even just other people around me, and even just the most smallest thing. Like I have a miniature Shetland that obviously you see on my social, and she shares a field with 3 other horses, and they've been there for, not the same 3 horses, but the lady who owns the land's been there for the last 20 years. Well, an opportunity came for her to move her horses to a place that has 12 acres. It's bigger, it's better, it's, is what they've always wanted, and it's only down the road. And I said, no, that's amazing. Like, go. She went, I don't want to give up this place. Like, you're more than welcome to stay here, but we've got another opportunity to have the horses in a much bigger place that they need, and more facilities for us. I said, that's amazing. I was so happy for her and her two children. And she went, why do I feel that you're not sad for us to go? I went, well, I'm not, obviously it's not nice for my little one to be on her own, but there'll be somebody else coming in soon to join her to keep her company. But I was just excited for her to move on. But maybe it's the way that she's conditioned. She expected me either to be upset or please don't go or see a negative in it. But I was so happy for her because I imagine that's all she's ever wanted, or that's something that an opportunity that they really needed, and it's come their way and they've taken that leap of faith and gone for it.
Well, that's so beautiful, Adele, because that's your Scorpio archetype, your moon archetype there in action as a Scorpio, because we are the sign that goes through the most transformations. We are consistently experiencing death and rebirths. So we start to embody at a higher frequency. We get used to change. We're not fixed anymore. We're like, okay, change is necessary for growth.
Yeah.
And a lot of signs don't know how to do that well. And that's why Scorpios go through these things, so we can lead by example. So it's beautiful. And I love what you said about it's what you're teaching is when one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
A lot of people not learning to trust the unknown still think they have to do it all alone and by themselves. It's not true. The right resources will open up, the right doors, the right opportunities, money. Like I said, these are miracle codes that come in as you continue to deepen and heighten your faith and trust in the support of the divine and the universe, God's source.
Yeah. Oh my God, I wanted to speak to you, Sherry, on the phone lines. You sort everybody out if they came and spoke to you. Honestly,
Yeah.
You're amazing what you do. You make it all make sense. It's so easy when maybe other people find it hard to, translate what's going on. It's so nice to be able to speak to somebody who just gets it, and it just makes a penny drop and everything just, makes sense around you. I mean, listeners, you have to give this lady a call and speak to her on the phone lines, because you'll walk away with just so much knowledge and just understanding of your life and what's going on and how to make the most out of challenging times and how to, capture the great opportunities that are around you that maybe you're a little bit nervous or scared of moving forward with. So many amazing things can happen for people.
Thank you so much for those beautiful compliments. I really believe in improving and consistently working on self-mastery, because when you master your emotions, you can conquer anything.
So good, yeah.
So I do believe I've always been on the path of self-development since I was a little girl.
Yeah, it's not all about predictions and you're going to meet this tall, dark, handsome man, which is nice, don't get me wrong. But if you just feel that, when they say, it comes from self-love and loving yourself and knowing yourself, once you've mastered that, I mean, everything else is just, you can deal with it, and just it's a lot easier once you've mastered, like you said, your own development. Right,
and we attract what we are. So the energetic matches will align in your path and show up, because we attract what we are from the inside out. Yeah. So, you'll use discernment, like, okay, I align with that person.
Yes.
I don't resonate with that person. It'll be easier to make less mistakes when you trust yourself wholeheartedly.
Definitely.
And intuitively.
Absolutely. Oh, it's amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to our next check-in to see what's developed in our lives and other people's lives. And again, keep doing a good job at what you do, and I hope people listening will go through and speak to you on the phone lines, because it's just incredible what you can do. It's really, really good. So Sherry, until next time, where I think we'll probably talk about the Saturn energy. Until then,
that sounds fun.
We'll leave it there. Thank you so much again for coming through and sharing your knowledge with us. Always much appreciated. I look forward to the next one.
Lots of love. Thank you, Adele.
Take care. Bye.